Cutting from the net, upstairs, Bardown, goal. Dog Love Mountain.
What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey episode number 189, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of everything relating to the greatest sport in the world, the sport of hockey. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I still believe the New Jersey Devils are going to win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Bean, the magical fruit. How you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you. It's been a couple weeks.
It has. It's our first show back following a little Valentine's Day / getting over the Super Bowl excursion. Hello, Travis. How are you? I heard a stat within the last 5 minutes that might intrigue you.
I love a good stat.
Since sports betting became legal across the United States and Canada, yesterday's hockey game between the United States and Canada was the most bet-on hockey game legally in the history of betting.
I mean, that makes sense because literally it was like the Super Bowl of the NHL, not including the Stanley Cup. I mean, so many people were into this. So many people were watching it.
I heard the numbers that are going to come out are like staggering.
Travis says, I'd believe it. Yeah, I'd believe it too. Like, it was an unreal tournament put on very well by the NHL. So I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Absolutely. And we will get to the four nations face off in just a minute. I heard like between the US and Canada, they're talking like maybe 40 million.
Wow.
Like the numbers I don't know how true it is. The things people have been telling me, I mean, Frank, people that don't text me about sports, people from my other job, people from, family members talking to me about hockey that never, ever, ever talk to me about hockey. Like it's crazy what this tournament is. And I explained this to Joey. The Stanley Cup final gets a lot of views, right? It does. It's always like the third or fourth, or they're always like the highest rated games of the year. But it's mostly like everyone in those two markets locking in, even casuals. Like you might remember when the Blackhawks were in the Stanley Cup, people who don't watch hockey in Illinois really were tuned in. It's everyone in those markets locking in, and then the diehards from across the world, like us, watching no matter who's in it.
Yeah.
But this is like everyone's favorite team combined in one big game. So that's the major difference.
There was a big group of cars in my neighborhood, like parked at somebody's house. I'm wondering if they had a Four Nations face-off party. Because first of all, it was Thursday night.
What else would they? If they weren't,
it's either weird. Like you were gathering because of a tragedy in your family, and everybody was getting together because somebody passed away or something of that sort, or you're getting together for the Four Nations face-off because it's a Thursday night and there were a lot of cars. And I'm telling you, they were coming in. Like, you're not having a party during the week just for nothing. I wouldn't be surprised because of how big this tournament was if it was for that.
I see a chat from our pal Travis about it being like cold weather down there in Texas. And I was like, I have to look into this. I have to, because our guy is our Chicago native, Travis. I think he's a Chicago native, definitely a Northerner native. Is he getting soft on us? Is he calling like 50-degree weather warm the way that, Texans do a lot of the time? The only Texas town I have saved in my phone is Lubbock, because our buddy Tyler famously went to Texas Tech University. It's 31 degrees in Lubbock, Texas right now. It's below freezing.
Yeah.
And it's 28 here in Chicago. So,
For us, that's a heat wave lately.
For us, that's a heat wave. But when he said cold weather down here in Texas. I thought it might be that thing where like Texans are, it's 50 degrees and they're all wearing their ski clothes, or
Well,
like
that's how.
if they get a dusting, they cancel school for a week. No,
Oh
it's
yeah.
31 degrees. Now it's going to be 53 tomorrow and 68 on Sunday.
Dude,
But
that's how the West Coast people are. It's like 70 and they're in like a knit hat and a sweatshirt
yeah,
because their body's not used to that. I'm like, give me a
totally.
break. 70s, I'm in t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, our weather coming up's actually not too shabby. Um we got 31 today, 32 tomorrow, so a little chilly again tomorrow, but Sunday, break out the frickin' swim trunks, man. 40 degrees, 48 degrees, 48 degrees, 51 degrees. Yeah. No, Travis, I just had to confirm. You said cold Texas weather, and it made me wonder. I'm
It's a
sorry.
heat wave.
Yeah, no, it's a heat wave for sure. And we got, some nicer weather coming up.
I don't want to jinx anything. So if I jinx something, I'm sorry to all the Northerners here in the Chicagoland area, but it really hasn't been a bad winter.
We haven't had
We had some snow, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't that bad.
we haven't had what the United States government defines as a blizzard in Illinois since 2022.
See, it's not.
And
that
most people think snow accumulation totals are what defines whether or not it's considered a blizzard. It's actually not. Blizzards are defined by wind gust combined with snow. And we haven't had a true blizzard in Illinois in over 900 days. I think we're approaching 1,000 days. No, it hasn't been terrible. There's been some snow.
we had one bad day. But
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad at all. Honestly, the worst of it all, even the ice storm was overhyped.
There was nothing really in the ice storm.
Yeah, and
Like
then
at all.
that one snow was okay. I think like out in Mundelein, like that area, Wakanda Forever, I believe had like 4 inches of snow, and that was like the max in Illinois. Out here in Des Plaines, and I know in Elgin, it was like 1.5, 1.4. Hello to Paula.
Hello, Paula.
Um,
Howdy.
that's not bad. It's not bad at all.
No.
We have some sports ball to talk about. Frank, the Kansas City Chiefs lost the Super Bowl to the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. We're just going to go over that quickly. I know most shows have already kind of like dove into it. We were off for a week. Just overall thoughts on the Super Bowl. Like what was going through your mind? What did you think? Did everything happen that you thought was going to happen? I know you thought the Eagles were going to win, but did you think they would absolutely, shove a boat down their throat? It was different than I thought it was going to be by a lot.
I wasn't expecting a blowout, but I was expecting the Eagles to win. Very happy about that. For being a guy rooting for the Eagles on that day, it was unbelievable for me. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. It's always an unbelievable atmosphere, though, because you get everybody together in the family. People who don't watch sports religiously, people who do, great food. I mean, the overall outcome of the Super Bowl, a lot of people would deem it as boring because it wasn't that typical treat you're looking for in a Super Bowl. But when you're on the winning side of that and you're rooting for a team like that, then for me, in my eyes, it was enjoyable. But it was just a great feeling overall. I needed that to happen. Down the line in a few years, if the Chiefs are back in it, I might be rooting for the Chiefs again. It really depends. It's all situational and depends who they're playing, and it's just the outcome, the three-peat. I didn't want to see it happen, not with that team at least. So I got what I want. To me, it was very enjoyable. And like I said, though, any Super Bowl is, you get everybody together with the delicious food. It's going to be a great time. And I'm sure you feel that same way.
Absolutely. It was the worst game Patrick Mahomes has ever played.
Yeah.
Ever. Tom Brady never had a Super Bowl that bad. He lost a couple Super Bowls. One of them was because David Tyree made a crazy catch on his head. One of them was he threw for over 500 yards. It's the most passing yards ever by a quarterback in a Super Bowl, and they still lost. Now, Tom Brady has a couple janky wins, too. I do believe that. I'm a Tom Brady guy, but I tell the truth. There were a couple janky wins. They were losing 28-3 in the start of the fourth quarter. You're supposed to lose that game. If Pete Carroll wasn't the single dumbest play caller for 1 second of his life, and they gave the ball, they had 3 chances to give the ball to Beast Mode. The guy's nickname is Beast Mode.
Yeah.
And you don't hand the ball to him, and Malcolm Butler makes an incredible interception of Russell Wilson, and the Patriots win that Super Bowl. That shouldn't have happened. I believe if any other coach in the NFL, except for maybe Eberflus, were the head coach of the Seahawks in that moment, they would have won their second straight Super Bowl that year. I have zero doubt in my mind. Zero. And I'm a Tom Brady guy. They didn't deserve to, but they won a couple that they didn't deserve to win necessarily, and they lost a couple that they didn't. So, but none of them were never blown out.
No,
the
and
way
wasn't he like sacked 5 times?
Yeah.
He
Do you know the Eagles had 0 blitzes?
Oh, that's even worse.
0. Now, a blitz is defined when more than 4 guys rush the quarterback. That just means Kansas City's offensive line was brutal. The fact that he was sacked that many times.
He doesn't get sacked once a game, let alone 5.
Yeah. And the offensive line was just bad. They had a bad game because they're not bad players. Trey Smith. I hope the Bears sign Trey Smith. That'd be amazing for their offensive line. He had, one mid-game. He was probably the best of the 4, but like overall, their offensive line was terrible. And it was just very un-Chiefs-like. Travis Kelce was invisible.
2 picks.
2 picks. And, hey, that kid from Iowa, Cooper DeJean, I remember throwing him in all my mock drafts. And it was his birthday. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. And that's the one thing the Chiefs did so well. They shut down Saquon Barkley and forced Jalen Hurts to throw the football. And Jalen Hurts was like, all right, man, I can win too. I might not be Patrick Mahomes. I might not be Josh Allen, but I'm good enough.
And we even said if they shut down Barkley, the Chiefs should win, but they they shut him down and they lost.
I will never discount Jalen Hurts ever again.
And it's like everybody discounted him throughout the year.
Like, dude,
they look
throughout
bad.
his life.
2-2. They didn't beat the Packers good enough.
Were you watching college football when he was at Alabama? Or was he already in the NFL or at Oklahoma by the time you started watching?
I think he was still in the NFL. Or he was in the NFL, I think.
Dude, he's at Bama, right? And I'm watching this game. I think I was watching it with like Nick Boss.
How many years
and
ago
Jeremy.
was that?
Probably like 10-ish, maybe less.
Yeah, then if it was 10, I didn't watch it.
They're in the national championship game. And they're getting killed by Georgia. Killed. And at halftime, Nick Saban pulls Jalen Hurts, throws in Tua Tagovailoa, and they come back in the second half and win the football game. Well, of course, after that, Tua's the guy. And they move off Jalen Hurts. He transfers to Oklahoma, becomes a second-round pick. He had a good time at Oklahoma, but Oklahoma is very offensive-focused, and they have a hard time winning because they never really play good defense at Oklahoma, but their offense is always awesome. So he was a second-round pick by Philly, and they still had Nick Foles I think they had Nick Foles and Carson Wentz when they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, but they knew neither of them was going to be the long-term answer at that point. Wentz was always hurt, former second overall pick, like always kind of hurt. Nick Foles is what he is. And then they get Jalen Hurts in there. And I think because you know who was the third string that year? When Tua, Alabama, it was Jalen Hurts started the game, Tua finished it and won. You know who the third string was as a redshirt freshman? Mac Jones.
Oh, wow.
Out of all 3 of those guys, Jalen Hurts became the best of them. And he was the one who got shoved out the back door.
Transfer out of there?
No, Mac finished at Alabama.
Oh, he was. I didn't know that.
He was drafted out of Alabama. I think, did he win a natty with Alabama? I think he did. He at least got to the college football playoff.
Starter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was a first-round pick. I know it didn't pan out for him really in the NFL, but he was great in college.
Wow.
Yeah, no, Mac Jones was awesome in college. So it's just crazy to me how this all turned around for Jalen Hurts. Out of those 3 guys, he's the first to win the Super Bowl. I still think there's hope for Tua to be like a really high-end quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, he's got to stop getting concussions. Absolutely. But like when he plays, the Dolphins win. What is their record with him in the lineup? I think his record.
Really good.
I actually people probably don't even realize unless I'm tweaking.
No, I think it's a really good record when he's playing.
And it's not like he's overly dominant statistically or anything like that. Like he's not throwing for Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he's 38-24 with a 68% completion percentage. He's got 100 career touchdowns to only 44 interceptions. The dude's a baller.
He's really
And it
good.
actually looks like how many of those losses came like even early in his career? Like
Injuries are shortening his career.
without question. Without question. Well, I hope not though. If he could go a couple, I mean, Crosby dealt with similar concussion issues. I know football's a lot more brutal of a sport in terms of head injuries, but
I don't know if it's just on my end, but you're really laggy.
Am I good?
You're choppy and your words aren't matching up with your hello, could you hear me? No, I can't hear you now.
The screen to look up Tua stats did anything bad.
Hello? No, but yeah, Tua, great quarterback. If it's not for his injuries and all the concussions, he'd be a lot better. I think he's a great passer. Not so much with his legs. I think he hold on. VP's back. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right when I clicked away to like look up Tua's stats, it seems like there was an issue.
It just was like looked very choppy. But you're good.
I get it. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, he wins the Super Bowl. It's his first. I don't see a reason why Philly can't be in the conversation to repeat.
Well, yeah, they're definitely going to be in the conversation to repeat. And, a lot of people thought after Jason Kelsey lost too, is it going to be the same team? Are they going to be able to do the tush push as well without him? And they did it better, arguably. I mean, they were great.
They put in that new kid as the center, and he was just as good. I don't know about just like Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. It's hard to say that, but like, it's just you're right. The tush push. People who want to ban it, I'm like, have you ever watched the Chicago Bears before? Have you ever just tuned into a Chicago Bears game before? You want to ban the tush push? If the tush push were so easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Everyone would do it. There's a reason it became basically. And Jalen Hurts said it best. He goes, you guys call it the tush push. I don't call it that. I don't call it the city of brotherly shove. That's all you guys. To me, it's a quarterback sneak. Because it's basically what it is. It's a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know how you ban it.
Like, yeah, what rule do you put in place? Like, do you make it?
Just can't quarterback sneak it, or you got to like limit the number of people who are on the line. But
yeah,
I don't think
like
they should ban it either.
Ban like the number of people that are on the line, I guess. But like, what about a run play that involves like good run blocking, where you need a tight end, a 2 tight end set, so that it becomes easier to create a path for the running back. Like you get rid of the V formation. Well, then how am I supposed to take knees at the end of games?
Yeah,
like, there's so many things that like I can argue against how they would ban it. Like it just make like is it going to be illegal to grab the quarterback from behind? Because they don't really touch his tushy too much. I think the initial push maybe, but then it becomes like this kind of push.
Yeah.
And
almost like a battering ram.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
grab him and just kind of.
How do you ban that? It's football. Tell him he can't touch the guy. It's weird to me. Or maybe the only thing I could think of that would work is banning a quarterback sneak from the V formation with less than 1 to gain. That's really it's a complicated rule though.
Sneak, though. You're not going to quarterback sneak it on like 4th and 5.
Well, that's when I mention the number of people on the line. A typical quarterback sneak does have a receiver out wide.
Okay.
Where the tush push is 9 guys on the offensive line, the quarterback, or no, 8 guys on the offensive line, the quarterback, and then 2 behind them. Normally, like the running back and fullback, or running back and backup running back. I don't either. I think it'd be so stupid. And like, has anybody ever really gotten like as hurt as you would think they would from a play like that? I don't think so. It's not like this injury-causing pandemic, the tush push either. No. So, but yeah, that's the Super Bowl. Hit on almost none of my bets. The only one I hit on was over.
Your coin toss is done.
Yep. My 5-year streak of winning the coin toss has come to an end. I picked heads. It was tails. People who say tails never fails. 4 of my 5 wins are picking heads. So get out of here with that. Over 2.5 people attempting a pass in the football game.
Yeah,
and it came down to our guy Kenny Pickett throwing a ball last. Caitlin says Stitch was the best commercial. Do you
that was
concur?
a phenomenal commercial. That was unbelievable.
The best were all the children in our family. Is this real? That was the best part.
I love the
cute.
Stitch commercial. I love the Pringles commercial that Paula's company made.
Yeah.
She didn't. I mean, I thought it was funny. Andy Reid's mustache is flying off his face. Anthony Davis's unibrow's gone. Freaking James Harden's mustache is gone. To me, I really liked that. I thought that was hilarious. Stitch, that was so funny too, because when that aired, I didn't realize it was like a commercial right away.
It was the first game. It was the first commercial off of the game.
Yeah, I was like, is something going on? I actually on the field. Is that like a dog or something? Then I see Stitch. I'm like, oh, this is a plug for the new Stitch movie. That was funny though. Great commercial.
That's amazing. Yeah, great stuff. The commercials, I think overall, the commercials might have not been where we're normally seeing them.
See, the problem with commercials, I look forward to them. I love the commercials, but that's your time to pee, grab a little food.
It's hard to pay attention at a party. You got to go back and watch them all, which I have not done.
Because I'm not leaving when there's actual football on. So the only time is like during halftime.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I didn't watch a second of Kendrick Lamar, and it's not because I have a problem with him at all. I from what I heard, it sounded good. It sounded like Kendrick Lamar. I'm a medium rap fan, so I wasn't like locked in. But I know people. He's like considered one of the greatest of this generation, and I respect him. I was writing Super Bowl pieces for USA Today during halftime. Like I had no time to.
Because you're not going to do it during the game.
Exactly, unless something like crazy, like. But no,
mean.
It was mostly like just halftime stuff. Saw Nick Fury playing Uncle Sam. That was pretty dope. Overall, I enjoyed the Super Bowl, though. I wish the game was better score-wise. I do say I was a little disappointed with the game itself, not because of the outcome or the pageantry or anything like that. That was all awesome. New Orleans did a great job hosting it.
Yep.
I just wish the score was closer. I wish it was a better game late in the fourth. I look forward. That's supposed to happen, that game, once a year. Like 2 years ago when San Francisco lost to Kansas City. That's the type of Super Bowl where like it goes to overtime. Like you're on the edge of your seat. Similar to the game we're going to talk about in a couple minutes when we bring up the Four Nations face-off, the way that event ended is reminiscent of how you hope championship games go. So good luck to everybody in the offseason. Hopefully the Bears can work on the trenches a little bit. I think that's where things are most important for them and their development of Caleb Williams over the next handful of years. Ben Johnson. Go ahead.
And shout out to Josh Allen for winning the MVP. I don't think we touched on it on the show.
MVP Josh.
Good for him.
He deserves it. He deserves it. We'll see how the Bills can come back next year. Their offense is always going to be good with him under center. I'd like to see them do something on defense. Make a trade. Why wouldn't Myles Garrett want to play for the Bills?
Yeah.
The Browns have just become such a trash bag again. And you could go to the Chiefs, but they can't pay him.
You can't complain about the weather either because it's shitty weather in Cleveland just as it is in Buffalo.
But shitty weather benefits defense too, more than offense.
But a lot of players don't want to go to the cold, but he doesn't have that excuse.
Yeah. Listen, Myles Garrett is going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's probably the best defensive player in the NFL right now. And he's probably the best defensive player in the NFL over the last 5 years. Really, the only one I can think of even in the same stratosphere as him is TJ. What? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm the Bills, man. I'm calling Cleveland every day saying, hey, man, what's up? You like this first round pick, this nice little 28th overall pick or whatever it is for the Bills right now? we're trying to win a Super Bowl. Hey, and we'll kick in some cash if we win the Super Bowl because trades can have like little funky things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Never know.
Long live the Bills.
We'll see. It's going to be a good season, hopefully, next year.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the NFL. There's no off season.
The logo's blue for Super Bowl 60, so Bills, Lions.
Bills, Lions. Okay. How about Chargers, Bears?
Yeah. It's not that type of blue, but it's a little bit lighter blue.
The Bears are a long way away. I would love to see the Bills make it. I would just love it.
Bills, Bears?
I would contemplate, if it's not next year, because next year is going to be a little too close to wedding the Super Bowl, but the following year and any after, if Josh Allen made it to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't mind going to Buffalo. I'd almost rather do that than go to the actual Super Bowl. Watch the game in Buffalo at a bar that has these boss wings. Oh, yeah. That actually, all right. I'm rooting for the Bills to make the Super Bowl going forward. I love Buffalo. I want the Sabres to be better. I hate the Pagulas for what they've done to the Sabres.
Same owners.
I know. But they don't get an excuse for the Bills. They locked into Josh Allen becoming a freaking alien. Josh Allen went 7th overall. He was the 5th quarterback taken or 4th quarterback taken. Josh Rosen was drafted ahead of him, I'm pretty sure, or right after. Baker Mayfield, great player. He's a good player. I think he got paid $30 million. He's a good quarterback. Tampa fits well in Tampa. Had some issues in Cleveland, but it's been good in Tampa. Mm-hmm. He was the number 1 pick. Sam Darnold went 4th. I think Saquon Barkley went 3rd or 5th, something like that. That was a good draft. But Allen, man, if that draft were redone 100 times, he would go 1st overall every time. And the Browns would have probably ruined him. So thank God he's with the Bills. Frank, yesterday, the Four Nations face-off came to a close. Going into the championship game, though, what was your overall takeaway from the Four Nations face-off and the round-robin rounds with Team USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland?
Going into the tournament, or going into the championship yesterday, it was very enjoyable. A lot there was really no games, even in the round robin, that were really boring. I mean, yeah, Finland kind of got lit up a little bit by Canada, but that was a big game. The game meant nothing for Finland, and the game meant everything for Canada, trying to, get into the championship game. But other than that, there was
if Finland won in regulation, they would have went to the championship.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought they were done because they were 0-2 or something like that.
No, they were 1-0-1.
They did have
1-0-1,
right?
No, they did. They beat Sweden in overtime.
I missed that.
They beat Sweden in overtime on Saturday.
But that's what I'm talking about. Is even though no one really gave Finland a chance, they played games competitively and tough. Like I said earlier when we were doing predictions, these are still NHL top tier players on these teams. They still have a fighting chance. So I thought leading up to the championship game, it was very well done. Every game you're just locked into. We watched a couple games together. We were locked in. So I thought it was very well done by the NHL. And I've said multiple times, other leagues need to take notes here. It made it that much more better.
If you took Finland and placed them in the NHL right now, they'd be a cup contender.
That's what I'm saying.
They would have been 20 million over the salary cap. If you're 20 million over the salary cap, you're a cup contender. There's no doubt in my mind. They probably win the cup or come damn close. And I know hockey's hard and anyone can win. If they were playing Florida, but who would Barkov play for if that were the case? If they played Vegas, right? I think it'd be a good 7-game series. And Finland would probably win. I don't see a reason. Canada was up 4-0, and they barely won over Finland. They came all the way back in the third, made it 4-3, and then if Sidney Crosby didn't borderline sacrifice his life to score an empty netter, then Finland might have tied it. They had all the momentum, and they were playing out of their mind. One NHL takeaway I get from Finland, the Dallas Stars, man, they might be the team to pick in the West, knowing they have Mikhail Granlund. Like, they add him. You can if there was an all-tournament team, Granlund would make it. He absolutely would make it. And if Rupe Hintz can, like, figure it out, and Jason Robertson can, like, stay consistent the rest of the season, I don't see why Dallas can't compete, especially if they get Sagan back.
They're always in the conversation.
I know. And
Every
adding
year.
Granlund, though, that just looks so good. They have to be one of the happiest teams following Four Nations.
Yeah, they for sure. I can't argue against that.
And we've talked all this about Finland. How about Sweden?
Sweden was very good too. Down 3-1 to Canada,
and then got a point out of it.
and then got a point out of it.
That almost made it where Canada didn't make the final, and they ended up winning the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. Every game was like really competitive that you wanted to lock into.
Yep, and Sweden's the only team that never lost a game in regulation, and they didn't make it to the championship game. And I also heard from people I trust that Sweden had the flu the worst. Every team dealt with it to some extent. Brady Tkachuk dealt with it on a practice day. Matthews dealt with it on Monday during the Sweden game. There were guys on Sweden's roster who just didn't have their typical energy that they normally have. One guy who looked great, though, was Erik Karlsson. Yeah. I mean, if you're a team and you see what he is on the Pittsburgh Penguins and they're old and slow and play a bad style and probably going to miss the playoffs again, but you remember what he did with the Sharks literally just like a couple years ago, winning the Norris Trophy again. He don't need to have 100 points, but like, why wouldn't you want a guy who skates with the wind like that? And if you're Colorado and you could protect him and only put him out there on offensive zone situations and, shield him from heavy defensive matchups, guy can help you win a Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always go back to the Devils. I'm like, what would it take? But like, they have Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. Like, they're not looking for an offensive defenseman, but like, that'd be sick because he's just so good. He's so silky smooth with his skating, and I thought he was great for Sweden.
Sweden were my underdogs. I thought they were, or my team. I thought they could really surprise, but Finland, like, they were right there with Sweden.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Surprising teams. And
there was no large gap between any of the four. First place to fourth place, not that large of a gap.
No. And
I hope people remember that next time too in the Olympics. I hope people remember that when they're making their predictions.
And obviously, the first game between U.S. and Canada,
dude,
that was, the way it opened up. It's one of the best. That game single-handedly might be one of the best like international games of all time. The way it opened up the atmosphere, like it was unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the way the Tkachuk brothers set the tone, and then played the way they played from that point on in that game until Matthew got hurt in the third period. But like, it was a defensive masterclass, and I saw people crapping on certain players from Canada and the U.S., whether it be Jack Hughes or Mitch Marner or, some of the other guys, Jarvis, for not scoring as much as we're used to them seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Hughes is like the fifth forward on Team USA right now at 23 years old. Do I think he'll be the second or third forward in 4 years? Yeah, I do. But like right now, some of these guys are on the team in like depth roles. Like, you're not going to get the Jack Hughes on the Devils that you get on Team USA. But I thought all these guys, every single player on both teams, were so committed to defense and doing the little things properly that it made for just two so super close games. Nobody was riverboat gambling out there. There wasn't this crazy dancing around, bad turnovers leading to chances. The chances were so minimal for how much skill was on the ice that it was just a defensive masterclass. The guys who I mentioned who like didn't put up the offensive numbers that maybe we were hoping for, the sticks were always in the right spot, and the forecheck was always super hard. And, getting back on defense and skating hard to like keep the opposition from getting to the middle of the ice. Like, other than McKinnon's goal, and I guess McDavid's goal was a pretty big mistake by Austin Matthews, like, they really weren't able to get to the middle of the ice too often.
Right.
And that's why, like, people who are looking for goals and goals and goals might have been a little disappointed. It was awesome. Both games between Canada and the U.S., like you said, the intensity was there. 3 fights in 9 seconds off the opening faceoff.
That was incredible.
I mean, we'll never see anything like that again, at least in the Olympics, because you can't fight in the Olympics. The games are going to be so different next year. They'll have the intensity of pure hockey skill creating, these compelling matchups, but you're not going to get 3 fights in 9 seconds. You're just not allowed. You'll get kicked out by the IIHF referees.
Yeah.
And it's a bigger ice surface, so there will be more room to make plays.
Mhm.
You might see more from guys like Marner and Hughes because there's a lot more room for creativity. It'll be a little harder to defend, I think, which will cause issues early in the tournament for teams. But, man, what a tournament this turned out to be. And then, Frank, in 2010, Sidney Crosby scores the OT GWG for Canada against Team USA to win the game 3-2 in overtime. And then here in 2025, Connor McDavid scores the game-winning goal in overtime from almost the same spot as Crosby did in 2010. 3-2 in overtime. Same exact thing.
It was like the golden goal all over again. It's like, of course, McDavid's the one to end this game. Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. I really wanted the U.S. to pull that game out. You know, they had the lead 2-1. Felt like it was a payback game because U.S. won the first matchup. Canada, they were hungry. But of course it had to be McDavid, right? Like, VP, there's nothing you could do. You were outplayed. You just in that moment, you're outclassed by the best hockey player in the world.
When he scored, did you think to yourself, how did I not have a paycheck on McDavid to score the next goal?
Well,
because I did. I was like,
well, Bucci did his Bucci overtime challenge.
Yeah, and I picked Crosby and Hughes.
And I didn't realize, it was literally probably a minute before that goal. I was thinking, did Bucci do his Bucci overtime challenge for this? I wonder if he did. Because I haven't, like, for other overtime games in the Four Nations, I didn't keep up if he was doing it or not.
No.
I was just interested if he did for this game. So literally a minute before the goal, I checked. And I'm like, oh, he did. I'm like, well, I'm probably too late. I'm not going to do it anyway, but I'd probably go with McDavid to score. And then he scored. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
yeah, I think he only takes ones that come in during intermissions.
Right. That's why.
If it would have went to double overtime, you would have that 15-minute span to get one in. But I was like, of course. And Elliot Friedman, I listen to 32 Thoughts. I don't know if you do. It's a great, if you're a hockey podcast host or a hockey writer or anything, or even just a fan in general, I think the 32 Thoughts podcast is incredible because it's not really for entertainment purposes as much as it is for informational purposes. And a lot of the stuff I gather and I hear is a lot of the times backed up by what Elliot says in 32 Thoughts. And if I hear something before I tweet it or say it on the show or anything like that, I almost always wait until I listen to 32 Thoughts to see if it's mentioned by Elliot to decide whether or not I'm going to keep my freaking mouth shut or not. And one of the things he said on there was that they don't believe that the torch has been passed from Crosby to McDavid yet in terms of leadership on Team Canada yet, just because he scored that goal yesterday. There's still an Olympics in 349 days from today. Basically, think of when we get back from Door County and Tom sets the counter over. Mm-hmm. That's this right. We're the day back from Door County right now with that, and the 349 days or whatever. It's not that long. It goes quickly.
It goes very quickly.
It goes so quickly, and Crosby's going to be the captain of Team Canada again. It's hard to say he passed the torch yet, just because McDavid scored the OTGWG. Crosby is also clearly ailing something with his wrist. He can't shoot. I think he had 2 shots on goal the whole tournament, but he had 6 points. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a menace with it. You could clearly pass without doing too much to your wrist.
He had 3 points in the first game.
Exactly, and he had the 2 points, I think, in the Finland game.
Didn't he score?
It was a empty netter. So he didn't have to put full wrist shot power into beating a goalie. Mm-hmm. But he was a menace while hurt. So hopefully next year he plays with bubble glass around him the whole time, so he could be 100% in the Olympics. Because if that's Crosby with a wrist issue, like, what is it going to be next year if his wrist is fine and he could shoot just as well as he could pass? It's going to be even harder for anyone to beat Canada.
He's also graying too. I didn't realize.
Oh, big time.
I saw it. I'm like, this is kind of sad. He's getting really old. He's
going to be 39, I think, on August 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 30 and I have some gray.
He was like graying. Like, I'm like, oh my God.
9 years older than me.
Yeah.
By 39, I bet I have way more gray than him by 39.
You might.
Like, it is what it is. Ovechkin grade at like 32. You excited to get Ovi back in action now that the Four Nations face-off is over?
Can't wait.
16 more, dude. We're almost there. You better pray the lights on you-know-what come out before
That's
freaking...
crazy.
Yeah. That would be unreal luck on your end. But you're still going to have to watch. You're a coward if you don't come over.
Oh, I'll be there.
If you're not around me, you will
gonna do anything for it
every day. It will be open house. Every single Washington game. When
on though?
I think so. This is where it gets like tricky though, because if he's 3 away, he could do it with a hat trick. But like, we probably won't go there. If that happens, that's just bad luck. Lucky you. You don't have to face me. But like, if he's tied or 1 away, basically from that point on, like, you're a loser if you don't come.
2 away?
Probably not, but maybe. I mean, if it's a weekend, like, why not? But like, we're gonna see
1 away for sure.
Yeah, without question. We're gonna see how cowardly you become.
I mean, I'll be there
in April. April, man, it's gonna happen against the Hawks.
It's not happening.
It's gonna be. I mean, the only thing that would be so there are 3 things. If I got to choose how it happened, one on my list unequivocally would be against the Hawks in your face. 2 would be on the last day of the season against Crosby, because I love Crosby and I love Ovechkin and I love what they brought to the league at the same time. Basically since I was a young man. They're my 2 childhood hockey icons, in my opinion. I was already basically an adult when McDavid entered the league. Same thing with Matthews, and obviously by the time Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier took over my favorite team, the Devils, I was an adult. I didn't act like one all the time, but I was an adult. Crosby and Ovechkin, I watched them as an adult and a kid, and I think they will always hold a special place in my heart. So that's why that's number 2. Number 3 would be he ties it against Sydney on the last game of the season. And then I got all summer, Frank. I got all summer. I see you more in the summer too, because we're a summer family a lot of the time with hanging out outside with the pool and everything. Even if it's by Jamie and all that, like, I see you more in the summer. Door County. Every single time I'm with you, I'm just going to have to bring it up. And I think that is why that would be my 3rd number 1 choice, is for them to be tied over the summer. And then opening night, 24 or 25, 26 season. We'll see if that impacts the schedule. I know the NHL uses AI a little bit to help them with the schedule making these days. Like, would AI be smart enough to put them against the Penguins on opening night if that were the case, or against Vegas where he won his first cup? Like, there's all sorts of awesome possibilities, Frank. This is great. We're off topic from the Four Nations, which we should be talking about, but I just wanted to see if you would be excited for Ovi's return.
I will say one thing. I'm not a guy who, you know how like the whole empty netter thing, people say he's got his goals through the empty nets and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me. If he broke the record on an empty net,
he won't. He won't.
He better not even be on the ice, because he'd be a coward.
The empty netter argument to me shows me how little you've actually, not you, anyone who says it, shows me how little research you did on the topic, because he only has like 5 more empty netters than Gretzky, the guy whose record he's trying to chase. And sure, that's 5 goals, but he's not going to be 5 goals more than Gretzky. The guy's going to score 1,000. he has a better chance of scoring 1,000 than not breaking the record. So if he has 1,000 goals, but he has, like, let's say by that time 10 more empty netters than Gretzky,
Well,
hogwash.
I don't. Those people are idiots. Like if he had his next 10 goals as empty netters, that doesn't bother me. If he broke the record on it, then he's a coward. I'll lose.
No.
Like you can't even be out there on the ice.
No,
And
I don't think he will. I don't think he will at all. 0% chance. I'd be surprised if he even wanted to tie it on an empty netter. That wouldn't bother me. That wouldn't bother me at all.
No,
I wouldn't prefer it. I wouldn't prefer it.
But a record-breaking goal like that, if it's on an empty net, no.
It won't happen. It will not happen. He has to beat a goalie, and then the whole team spill over the bench and celebrate as if the game went to overtime. There's going to be like an hour delay when it happens. There'll be a long time, I think. His family might come on I don't know what it's going to happen. It's going to be an awesome day in NHL history, though. So you think it's going to happen?
No.
Okay. Back to the Four Nations face-off. Yeah, totally. So dumb. I don't know when people are going to start to realize that they have access to my hockey brain for free. For free. It's absolutely. I told you this shit 3 years ago. Oh my god. Unbelievable. It is a hypothetical. But yeah, Canada, man. Whether it's Hagel wasn't an offensive dynamo in this series. He's going to flirt with 100 points for the first time in his career this year. And he was just a defensive masterclass. Jarvis going in and out with Konechny. One of those guys they're just always great. Shout out to Binnington. He had a rough start to the tournament. He had a rough start to the tournament. He's had a rough year with St. Louis, been borderline bad. Shocking he made the team.
He looked like 2019 Binnington last game. He was making some unbelievable saves.
Yep.
Now, would I have played Binnington? No, I would have went Adin Hill. Won a cup more recently, better stats this year. He's just been the hotter player, but obviously they knew what they were doing. They saw something in Binnington. He was the only goalie to play in every game in the tournament. Yep. So they knew something, and it worked out for them. Now
they did.
Now the Four Nations face-offs coming back in what, 28?
No.
27.
There's no word of when the Four Nations face-off will return, if it ever will. The World Cup in 28.
28.
Yeah. Starting next year, so there will be best on best every 2 years till 2036 minimum.
Okay. And so that's the World Cup of hockey. So if they ever did the Four Nations face-off again, I feel like they should up it. Like the Six Nations face-off. Doesn't roll off the tongue as much, but like
they have to.
We're missing out on some great players.
Well, for one, I know there's geopolitical reasons, but Russia can compete with any. Yeah, but more than anybody else.
Because you can't have 5.
There are 5 elite teams, though. There are 5 elite teams. Russia is the 5th. Well, they're actually probably the 3rd or 4th. It's hard to compare them. I think they're a tick better than Finland, and they're right there with Sweden. Even though I think Finland could win it in any given year, I really, really do. So I'm not trying to disrespect any of the 5. I think any of the 5 can win it any given year. Anybody else would be an upset, even though it is possible. Like Czechia's won major events before. Switzerland is on the rise. I mean, you're telling me a team with Roman Josi, Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, Philip Kurashev. I don't know who their goalie is going to be. There's another big, Nino Niederreiter, but there's another big Swiss I'm missing. Pia Suter, like he's not a star, but like he's good enough to like be a matchup guy in an Olympic tournament where like Switzerland will be like the 6th or 7th best team in it. Mm-hmm. And Germany's going to have Leon Draisaitl and, other, German players that are in the NHL. The Four Nations face off, it can't be 4 anymore. I don't think it will be. The World Cup will have 8 minimum, according to Gary. Which you assume it will be these 4: Russia, Czechia, Slovakia. That's 7. You can argue for the 8th. Will it be Switzerland? Will it be Germany? Belarus is always in the mix. Do you just make it 10 and include them all? The Olympics, I have the Olympic group available to me. Next year in the Olympics, Group A is Canada, Sweden, Switzerland, and Italy. Italy's in it because they're hosting.
They're fucked.
They're big time.
God.
Frank, they wouldn't even be in if they weren't hosting.
They're
Because I'll tell you why I know Italy wouldn't be in if they weren't hosting. Group B is Finland, Germany, Czechia, Denmark. Group C is Russia, United States, Slovakia, and Latvia. If Russia is unable to participate due to the geopolitical climate, it will be France in their spot in Group C instead of Russia. So from a U.S. perspective, they're probably begging France to come in because then they'd have a free group victory because they'll dominate Slovakia and Latvia. Yeah, there's 3 groups of 4, so 12 teams.
Wow. I always think there were 4 groups.
No. If you have 4 groups, then 1 team will be out because you need 6 will come out of it.
So how does that work then in terms of like matching up then?
The top 2, they'll do round robin of their group,
2.
and then the top 2 advance to the medal or the playoff stages.
So then, but like, how do you if the top 2 advance though, and everybody like played in an elimination, then you're down to 3. What happens?
It won't be down to. Oh, maybe someone gets a bye.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like weird. That's why if you had 4 groups,
maybe 3 from each group get advance. Actually,
it would have to be.
I think 3 from each group might advance.
But somebody wouldn't. You would still need a bye somewhere in there.
Yeah, probably. I feel bad for Switzerland because they have to go in the same group as Canada and Sweden. And I think they can be top 2 in any other group. And just Canada and Sweden, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Can they pull off an upset somewhere?
Maybe.
Sure. They'll be able to dominate Italy. I can't wait to see what jerseys Italy comes up with though. They'll be blue. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome to see. I might get one, even though they're going to stink.
They win gold. Could you imagine?
No.
Be like Miracle all over again.
No, I don't even think it'd be like that. Miracle would be an understatement. If we played them 10 times, they might win 10. Like, I'd be more than a miracle. That'd be God. But yeah, exciting stuff. Love that international's back. Congrats to Canada on winning the 4 Nations face-off. Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Cale Makar, Nate Dogg, loaded with awesome guys that we're
Connor
big
McDavid
fans of.
Was the player of the game.
Yep. Obviously. And then the Nate Dogg takes the MVP. Would you have given it to the Nate Dogg? Would he have been your vote?
He was better than McDavid overall in the tournament. Yeah, I probably would. He was really good.
He was. I would have voted for him. I would have given Binnington thought though.
I thought Binnington was going to get player of the game because of how well he made some unbelievable saves. Like if he doesn't make those saves, McDavid doesn't score the goal. So I was like, there's an outside chance Binnington's going to get player of the game. And I told G that when we were watching on it because she's like, well, McDavid. I'm like, well, there's a case for Binnington here.
I was stunned. It was McDavid, honestly, over Binnington.
He only got it because he scored the goal, but Binnington was more of a factor on why they won the game.
He made 2 point-blank saves on Austin Matthews at the start of overtime.
Exactly. It was that's the only reason McDavid even got to the point.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but yeah, I would have given it to McKinnon.
If Team USA won, who would you have given it to? There are 3 guys in my brain.
Well, what player of the game or MVP? MVP, I probably would have given it to probably Brady Tkachuk or Matthew Tkachuk, but Brady just seemed like he was the more prominent factor.
Yeah, Matthew hardly played. He wouldn't have gotten votes.
I would have probably given it to Brady.
Yeah, Brady Tkachuk was Elliot Friedman's number 1 guy on his ballot. He submitted his because they had to submit it before the game was over. He gave like an if USA wins this, if Canada wins that. It's
hard to he was unbelievable.
He was. And I think Werenski would have been in thought for me. I think he led the tournament in scoring. He had an assist yesterday. I would have voted for a guy who had 0 points to be the MVP. And it's not a goalie if Team USA won. The way Jacob Slavin played for Team USA, and Elliott voted him 3rd. The way he played for Team USA was unbelievable. He was a human eraser out there. How the Hurricanes don't win the Stanley Cup every year, I have no idea.
They're good defensively.
He is the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. He's one of the best defensive defensemen I've ever seen. And people talk about him as a defensive defenseman. He actually has the most points by a defenseman in Carolina Hurricanes / Hartford Whalers history. But that's just from being in the league for a long time because it's like 20 points here, 20 points there. Eventually they add up to be the most.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they don't even get to the championship without him. Every single time I was watching the game and I felt like a Team USA group stopped a McDavid chance or a McKinnon chance. Crosby had a wide open net in the third period and Slavin saved it. I couldn't. Canada, they would have dominated them if Slavin wasn't in that game. He was just and defense matters. It's half the game. It's half the game. I am so impressed with what I saw from Slavin. He would have probably been. I think I would have voted him 1.
It's fair.
In order to win these tournaments, there has to be a commitment to defense. As we saw, literally, it wasn't a fireworks tournament at all. Did anybody score? USA had 6 in that first game against Finland, and Finland was just bad in that game, and they were really good every other game. Other than that, nobody had like this busting offensive performance.
Yeah, not really.
It was there's a commitment to defense in this best on best, and Slavin's the best at it. Team USA, man. I can't wait. I hope he's healthy to be back next year. I really do. And then having Werenski and then hopefully Quinn Hughes is healthy. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Love international play.
Me too. All right, Frank. Hit the people with America's favorite podcast segment of the week. Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Okay, players. The floor is yours.
We're only going to do 2 picks this week for hockey because there's been a little downtime, obviously, with the NHL coming back. So we'll keep it simple. Saturday, NHL regular season is back in action. Kicks off the first game of the week between the Minnesota Wild and the Detroit Red Wings. Once again, thank you, Four Nations Face-Off in the NHL, for putting on a great tournament. A lot of fun. But if you look at both of these teams between the Minnesota Wild and the Detroit Red Wings heading into the Four Nations Face-Off break, the Red Wings, they've been stronger lately. They've had the better form. Plus, the thing I love about this matchup is it's being played at 11:30 in the morning. And the Red Wings are just one of those teams who thrive at early morning matchups. There are a few teams that are like that, but the Red Wings are arguably the best at it. I don't know why it's like that, but it's just one of those things that they thrive at. They're good at. And on top of that, I just really like the way they were heading into the Four Nations face-off break. So hopefully that this isn't a dud now from all the time they've had off. Maybe it will only help them a little bit more. So we're going to go with the Detroit Red Wings money line at -115, bet to win 2 units. And our second pick is between the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. This is one of those games that I think the Predators can win, but we're going to go with the Colorado Avalanche money line. Nathan McKinnon, Devin Taves, Cale Makar, they're all coming off their gold medal win. During the past 2 weeks, they've been busting their butts off. This can prove one of those instances where the Avalanche top players are just not ready to come back into NHL play. Or it could be like what VP said and be like taking the donut off a bat and playing a little bit more freely and easier. But I'm going to go with the Avalanche to win this game. I just hope it doesn't turn out to be a dud. But I just really like the value that we have on the Avalanche here. They're -135. And the Predators, they're just one of those teams that you just can't trust. They're super inconsistent. So hopefully the Avalanche Stars aren't coming into this game sluggish after winning their championship game against the United States. But I think they can build off that and get a win back in the regular season and continue their push for the postseason. So we're going to go Colorado Avalanche money line, -135, bet to win 1 unit.
Very good, Frank. I hope you win all your bets. Or the people that fade you, I hope they win all their bets. Just kidding. It was a great show. Love the Super Bowl. Love the Four Nations face-off. I don't love ending the show on a sad, somber note, but I feel like we wouldn't be a proper hockey show that appreciates everyone if we didn't mention the passing of Pittsburgh Penguins announcer Mike Lang. He was synonymous with Pittsburgh Penguins hockey. I've done a little digging. I've asked some people at the Hockey News from Pittsburgh about him. Was told that before Crosby and Malkin, it was Yager and Lemieux. And before Yager and Lemieux, Mike Lang was the star of the Penguins. They hadn't had a transcendent star yet until Mario Lemieux showed up. And now they have the easiest Mount Rushmore of players of all time. No team has an easier to pick Mount Rushmore of players than Pittsburgh because of Lemieux, Yager, Crosby, and Malkin. Well, the fifth guy in that line isn't a player. It's their announcer, Mike Lang, with all of his famous quotes that he would say, you know, slap me, silly Sydney, and all those sorts of things. So we want to end the show by giving our condolences to the family, friends, and everyone associated with the late, great Mike Lang, Pittsburgh Penguins announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building.